We get to see Hisuian Arcanine. That's so exciting. So we got Hisuian Arcanine, Fluttermane, Urshifu, Rillaboom, Chien-Pao, and Tornadus. Most likely the Urshifu is going to be water. Again, as we see, Fire, Water, Grass Core, very popular. How do we do that? Okay. And again, Gastrodon would be nice, but I decided not to bring it. Tornadus will use Tailwind, meaning that the Fluttermane matchup is going to be a little bit harder. I could Fake Out, but the problem with Fake Out is that it just doesn't help against... I think Iron Hands is actually going to be our win condition. Fire Terra, Iron Hands. Alright, Grass Terra, Iron Hands, rather. How do we deal with Urshifu early? Not sure. Grimmsnarl could help with Scary Face shenanigans. And I wouldn't mind using like a Grimmsnarl Chien-Pao lead with Orthworm, or I could use Excuse me. Yeah, I like Grimmsnarl Chien-Pao with Iron Hands and Orthworm in the back. And then depending on what the opponent sends out, we can work around it. Why did I pick Orthworm? Oh, I don't know. I guess against Fluttermane it does a pretty good job. That's about it. And Rillaboom. Actually, it does a really great job against Rillaboom, yeah. And also Chien-Pao now that I think about it. Yeah, it's just the Arcanine. And I think this is where Gastrodon would really have done a great job. And then it's like, oh, okay, how do you deal with Rillaboom? Then once you deal with that, then the pieces fall into play, right? So, yeah, this Arcanine can either be Intimidate or it could be the Rockhead version. And Rockhead actually hits like a truck. Especially because it has Flare Blitz and Rock Smash. So those are just two things you need to be mindful of. Okay, so we got actually Fluttermane and Urshifu, and it is water as predicted. Okay, versus Grimmsnarl and Chien-Pao. Okay, Sword of Ruin, Loam's defense, and no booster. Alright. If I was Fluttermane, I would probably target with Dazzling Gleam, right? Feels pretty safe. And then I would have Urshifu attack. Now, what I can do is I could use Scary Face to target down Fluttermane, and then immediately try to knock it out with this Ice Spinner. Recognizing that Urshifu would probably have to choose Surging Strikes if it wanted to avoid running into, yeah, Fairy Terror, right? So. Now, the only way that Fluttermane doesn't have to deal with like too many challenges with this is that if Fluttermane itself is Focus Sash, right? Yeah, we just knock it out. Perfect! That's worth the trade, yeah. The Scary Face Ice Spinner combo was clean, and that just guaranteed we got it. Urshifu goes for Surging Strikes on Chien-Pao, so we are probably going to... Yeah, we're going to lose Chien-Pao here. Oh, it survived. I don't know if I wanted it to survive, actually. Because Urshifu can just use Aqua Jet, right? So it's a very awkward positioning, I'll admit. And Arcanine comes out, okay. Intimidate? Rockhead. Alrighty. Let's go ahead and fire off this Reflect. What would you want to do? You probably want to Aqua Jet. You also know Extreme Speed. It's so awkward, yeah. I'll go for Earthworm for now. And I guess the other question is how much do I really want to preserve Chien-Pao, right? So that's also another thing we can consider of like how do we kind of deal with it. It is nice that Fluttermane wasn't Focus Sash. Yeah, I figured Aqua Jet was coming our way, and we can't protect through it. We gotta fire off this Reflect, which is helpful. And it had to eat up a Flare Blitz here. Well, that did a lot. Okay. Zero Break. And if you decide not to Flare Blitz, then I will... use this opportunity to get this Body Press off of you. Oh, I take that like a champ. Look, it tickles barely tickles. Okay, Grimmsnarl is knocked out. This is a lot of damage, which is good. That tells me your choice. So I'm down to fake you out. And also Set Tail. Because if Arcanine switches out, then Chien-Pao gets protected, right? So this is kind of that idea of like, oh, I don't want Arcanine to get knocked out, so that's why we're doing this play. And we do know that Orthworm could survive the Surging Strikes. What's interesting is that... Alright, so not very effective. Two. Okay, so it is a 3-hit. It's a 2-hit KO. Alright, here's what I recommend. Terra Grass you, Thunder Punch, Urshifu, Sacred Sword, Arcanine. Arcanine would have to reveal Extreme Speed at this point, and that is not choiced. But it's just, well, we know for a fact it's not choiced, right? Because it did Aqua Jet and then Surging Strikes. But this helps us survive the Surging Strikes if they come up again. And then it's their final Pokemon. My team's pretty worn down though, so it's gonna be a pretty close finish. So we are Grass Terror, Iron Hands. Can we do it? Can Grass Terror, Iron Hands clinch the victory here? We get the Sacred Sword off, so Urshifu decides not to pursue with the Aqua Jet, right? Which is why the Set Tail is so important. In case it decided to do that. We get the Surging Strikes. I'll survive them. Woo! Okay. And that's enough for that KO. Urshifu's knocked out too. Oh my goodness, that took a lot of work, but we found a way to break through it. Let's do their final Pokemon. If it's Rillaboom, we're in a really solid spot here. It's just their own Chien-Pao. Perfect. Alright, in this case, we definitely want to switch out Iron Hands for Orthworm, who has done its job. And then we Sacred Sword their own Chien-Pao. And they forfeit. Yes! That was a really good battle, honestly. That took a lot of pieces. I think the Scary Face combo was so huge. If Scary Face immediately go for the Ice Spinner, knocking out Fluttermane and taking away their Terra. And then it took a little bit to figure out how to deal with both Arcanine and Urshifu, but we found a way and we were able to